It's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here today with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. Okay, so this is an interesting message in that I feel Spirit is wanting to revisit and deepen a topic of conversation we have already recently discussed in one of the live streams. It was the What's the Gossip on You live stream, and I'm pretty sure it came out in the general messages / what became the fourth pile of that reading. And we were talking about someone who was heavily observing you. This person was really watching you and studying your behavior, if not nitpicking your behavior, because they were trying to ascertain some deeper level of information about you. And I really feel for most of you this had to do with your feelings and your character. But I don't think there was any direct communication in that process, which is a real shame because I do feel like that was the proper method. Both if you look at this from even like through the field of psychology, like through that lens, it's the proper method that way, but also spiritually attached to a karmic lesson here. That is the proper method to really get actually truthful, useful information here on your feelings and your character. Even if you don't outright ask somebody, hey, what's your character, right? There are certain pointed questions you can ask, or you can ask for clarification on certain things. Hey, did I misunderstand this? Hey, I noticed you have been kind of distant lately. Is everything okay? There's certain questions that you can ask that the answers can help you clarify and get more valuable information here on those topics than what this person had chosen to do, which this person instead, they kind of are withdrawing in and of themselves. This feels like a defensive stance. I am hearing the word cowardice, and they chose to kind of like hang out here on the periphery and observe you from a distance. Now, while they were doing this, it's like this person was watching your behavior and they were trying to draw these like matter-of-fact conclusions from, like, they would see you doing one thing or something here, and then they would try to say, okay, well, that means that they feel this way about me, about them, about this topic, right? And there's no margin for error. This person's pretty solid in the conclusions, quote unquote conclusions that they're drawing. Same thing like here about your character. Okay, so your character must be situated this way or that way. And a lot went wrong here in this process. I'm hearing faulty logic, faulty psychology, faulty observation. This person, I think they made a lot of assumptions. They made a lot of leaps. They connected a lot of dots that they really should not have been connecting. So this message is really me kind of trying to unearth here what Spirit is showing me kind of went wrong here. Now, some of you know that I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and in my experience, a lot of the people that are drawn into like that field of study, they're drawn into it because they're good with people, like just naturally. And that is as it should be, in my opinion. But psychology in its essence is a science. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Psychology in its essence is a science, even though it is a soft science. So it rests on a bedrock of neutrality, observation, research, and statistics. So we got a lot of this messaging in different ways in the beginning of my studies, where our professors were constantly trying to kind of drive this point across that everybody out there has, kind of their own methods of navigating life and understanding people. We have ways that we think people work and life work, and all of that is valid. Like we're people. Psychology is something different though. This is a profession. This is a field. So we kind of put our psychology hat on. And when we're operating within the field of psychology, we have to kind of check our own personal methodologies at the door. And instead, we do need to be loyal to these ideas of neutrality, observation, research, and statistics. And in the field of psychology, it's its own kind of unique beast because it's a field made up of human beings that study human beings. So there's a lot of moving parts because human beings, there's an integrated set of many systems, and a lot about what human beings do changes, and it's not always logical, and that's very different than the hard sciences that oftentimes study things that are very fixed, they're very stationary, and it's easier to kind of get a handle on those. So if you're going to be prepped to operate in a field, which, by the way, what I'm doing now is not psychology, okay? It's informed by psychology, but this here isn't psychology, right? So anyways, but if you're going to operate within that field, you do have to understand robust observation, which means, especially in the field of psychology, one of the main ones is you do have to understand that you yourself, as a human being, if you're observing anything, and observing especially another human being, you are a major variable that you have to factor into the equation. So if you have preconceived notions or prejudices, if you have a complex, if you have fears, anything, that becomes this kind of tint that you look, it becomes a lens that you look through, and it can actually tint the situation. But our professors have to make us aware of that, because we have to be able to account for it and then redo it and subtract it. Because if you don't, you really run the risk of whatever you're observing, you're not actually observing the truth, right? This is essentially what I feel like this person was not able to do. They were not able to factor in themselves here as a variable. And this was all playing out against a backdrop where I think for most of you, this person hurt you in some way. They betrayed you. In some way, I think this person put you in a defensive stance, which brings me to the next point here. Defensiveness. What is human defensiveness? It's a big thing, okay? Essentially, when you get put on the defense here, like you have made some kind of observation that you're not safe, either with a person, in a certain environment, maybe things are not as they seem to be. So it's essentially saying, I have to be alert, I have to be on guard, I have to tread carefully. So defensiveness often comes with an extreme controlling of our own behavior, or like a restriction of our behavior. It's very calculated operating. And that word calculated is very much sticking out to me, because this person may have made a judgment on your character that you were calculated. You were calculated. That calculated nature actually was linked to defensiveness, right? But this person couldn't factor that in because they were the one that put you in that defensive stance. I think the cowardice comes in because they wanted to make it right, but they didn't want to be direct with you. And they were trying to figure out if that was okay, but all they're observing in you is your defensiveness. And it's important to understand that the state of being defensive is the exact opposite state of being natural and free form and flowing. It's the exact opposite state of the personality. So this person is only observing your defensiveness. It is wrong, I think morally, but it is also just faulty psychology, faulty observation to put someone in a state of defensiveness, not count on it, not calculate that in, observe them and think you're observing their personality and not their defense mechanisms and the state of them being defensive. They're not observing your personality, they're observing your defensiveness. That's it. Boom. Right? The personality comes out. This is like when you're dating somebody, you're getting to know somebody. You're open, you're free expressing, you're in that direct communication. You're having dinner, you're asking each other things about yourself. Nobody stepped on anybody's toes or broken anybody's heart. You feel free to express your personality. This person didn't get that part of you, in part because of their behaviors, and then in part because they did not fix that before they went to observe you. For some of you, I think this person did want to date you, but they didn't correct your defensiveness before they were trying to date you, essentially, and get to know like that personality. So it really threw a wrench in the works here, and it caused this person to jump to a lot of conclusions, make a lot of assumptions, be very loyal to their faulty logic, and just, I think maybe this person's in their head about their own behaviors here as well. I do just want to point this out. Some of you are dealing with a person that is much sneakier than you think, because part of why this person's not coming forward is because they've done many things to harm you, but they don't know which one you know about. And so if they're going to come clean, they're going to have to come clean with like 10 different things. If that's the case, you dodged a bullet. So, okay, that's what I have for you guys. Thank you for watching. If this resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.